fired! You're fired! You're fired! You're fired! You're fired! You're fired!
Let's look at 20 very interesting mistakes that you missed in SpongeBob episodes. These were all really hard mistakes to find, so make sure to watch carefully.
Oh! Sorry, SquidBob! Sorry, SquidBob!
Number 1. First up on our list is Welcome to Binary Island, an episode from season 13 that takes place in an alternative version of Bikini Bottom known as Binary Bottom.
Imagine, if you will, the town of Bikini Bottom. Now imagine if everyone who lived there was a robot.
I'm ready, I'm ready.
Finally, someone whose company I actually enjoy. Me.
In this world, every character is a robot version of themselves, and all their names have a little twist on them to fit the theme, as you can see here.
Hey, Patron, I'm going to work.
I'm going with you, SpongeBob.
Sorry, SquidBob. Good morning, Robo Gary.
And it's all thanks to our good pal Gary here that disaster strikes Binary Bottom. He doesn't want SpongeBob to go to work, because it means they have to stop playing. Robo Gary decides to hitch a ride with him by literally jumping inside of a hollow SpongeBob. While SpongeBob is cooking at the Krusty Krab, known as Krabby Battery in this universe, Robo Gary gets a little too curious and decides to try the Krabby Batteries behind SpongeBob's back. It doesn't end well for him. He ends up getting electrocuted, and poor Squidward ends up suffering too.
Boot up, SpongeBob. Give me 2 batteries on a barge and make them cry.
Robo Gary and Squidbot fuse together. This leads to multiple characters all getting fused together, one of them being Sandroid, aka Sandy, a giant robotic head that is very unhappy to be awoken. Eventually, this creates a giant monster that attacks Binary Bottom. If you look very closely, you'll notice there are actually 2 Mrs. Puffs. On the bottom left of the screen, on Sandroid's leg, we watch a glimpse of Mrs. Puff's face. In the next shot, Mrs. Puff is on the beach with 4 other characters, looking quite shocked.
Amazing!
Robo Rube, unfazed by the giant before him, decides to snap a photo of Sandroid. If you look closely, when his head comes back together, you'll notice his mouth disappears for a frame. Unfortunately, Sandroid isn't happy about this and snatches him up a moment later, along with everyone else. As you can see in the next scene, Rube is on Sandroid's torso, right between SpongeBob and Squidbot, and he's as cheerful as ever.
Hi, Rube.
Well, hello!
In the very next shot, however, we see Sandroid from a distance. Finding SpongeBob and Squidbot on Sandroid's chest is really easy, but if you look between them, where Rube originally was, he's gone. Poor guy. That's 2 mistakes on him. But this episode had a lot going on, so let's move on to another one. Number 2. Karen for Spot is an episode focused on Plankton's wife, the supercomputer Karen. Despite being a supercomputer, however, she can't do everything, like taking care of Plankton's amoeba pet, Spot.
A sophisticated AI like myself should have no problem with a simple organic being. Heel, boy, heel! Uh-oh. Is he supposed to do that? There you go, Spat. I killed him!
As you can see, pet sitting is not one of Karen's skills. And who better to show up in the middle of this crisis than SpongeBob?
Hi, Karen. Gary has a play date with Spot, remember?
Did you notice anything weird? It's really easy to miss, but if we slow down this clip, you'll see that the outline of SpongeBob's eye on the left completely disappears for a few frames. If you watch it again in slow mode, it's not that hard to miss. As always, there's some mayhem involved. Spot and Gary's playdate goes wrong. Spot gets away, and Plankton is on his way back home. After catching Spot, SpongeBob and Karen are faced with a new problem. Spot is hungry and eats everything.
Fine. You're still hungry? I'll give you all the nourishment you'll ever need. Here, I synthesized a perpetual nutrient pill. It'll keep feeding you so you'll be full. Forever. ever.
Spot seems to be missing some of his spots during this scene. If you look closely, whenever Karen grabs him, his spots disappear. And during the close-up shot of Spot being fed the pill, we only see 2 spots. Karen drops him, and his spots are missing again. It isn't until he starts inflating that the spots return.
Hey, Karen, is he supposed to be getting bigger?
If you look closely enough, when SpongeBob is speaking, something weird happens to his eyelashes. He blinks twice while speaking, and on the second blink, his eyelashes don't move with his eyes. Plankton returns home, and he isn't too happy to see his beloved Spot inflated, which starts an argument between him and Karen. As Plankton speaks, his mouth isn't there at first. Watch his mouth as the camera pans out. In the first half of his sentence, "you probably made," there is no mouth despite the fact that he's talking. It doesn't appear until he says Spot, but that's it for this one. Number 3, the next episode we're going to talk about is from season 7. It's called Love That Squid. In this one, Squidward has a date. And no, not with himself, but with another squid. With the help of SpongeBob, Squidward tries to prepare for his date with Squilvia. The episode starts off at the Krusty Krab, where Squidward is trying to enjoy his break. Unfortunately for him, others can't read.
Try reading the sign, Casanova.
You never learned to read, did you?
No.
That's all right. Neither did I.
We are meant for each other!
Disheartened by their display of affection, which only highlights Squidward's loneliness, Squidward tosses his book over his shoulder. SpongeBob is kind enough to give it back.
Squidward, you dropped your hook.
If you look on top of Squidward's register, where his sign saying "I'm on break" had been, you'll see it's disappeared. And it's not the only thing to disappear.
Don't be sad, buddy. Turn that frown upside down.
The book that was just in SpongeBob's mouth is gone now too. This seems to be a consistent mistake throughout this episode. After SpongeBob convinces Squilvia to go on a date with Squidward, another item, this one much more important, vanishes for a scene.
You okay, Squidward? You froze up there, buddy.
SpongeBob, you gotta help me.
While the camera is focused on SpongeBob, Squidward's boat disappears. Based on the way SpongeBob landed, the boat should still be right behind him. We see that it is there again when Squidward grabs him and asks for help. SpongeBob agrees, and Squidward goes to SpongeBob's house, not knowing what to expect.
Just 1 minute, Squidward!
Another thing disappears again. If you look at the door frame where Squidward just pressed the doorbell, you'll see that the doorbell is now gone.
Sometime today would be nice.
I'm ready!
Notice that Squidward is wearing a watch. He even checks the time. But when he freaks out upon seeing SpongeBob's outfit, the watch has vanished too. This episode had a lot of smaller items vanishing throughout it, a lot of them back to back. It makes you wonder how so many things got overlooked, especially since you can spot most of them pretty easily. Number 4. SpongeBob's Last Stand is another episode from season 7. Jellyfish Fields. SpongeBob and Patrick's favorite spot to catch jellyfish at is under threat. A highway is going to be built there, destroying the field, and SpongeBob and Patrick are determined to stop it.
Big sign. I didn't see a jumping jellyfish. That's a big sign. Hereby make this solemn vow to stop this so-called Shelly superhighway from ever being built.
SpongeBob and Patrick try to gather a following in order to stop the construction of the superhighway. They do succeed in starting a bit of a riot, but not to stop the highway. It turns out the people want the highway built. The police come and arrest SpongeBob and Patrick, dumping them in the middle of nowhere.
We're actually right on the edge of nowhere.
Well, at least it isn't raining.
I guess the rain washed SpongeBob's shoes away. Before the storm, he has his shoes on, and then after the time jump, they've disappeared. SpongeBob's shoes are not the only shoes to disappear either.
Am I on television? And there's my pals in Altoona, and the gang at the Pudgy Flipper.
Ben Blenny, a news reporter, is covering the jellyfish attack in Bikini Bottom. In the first scene, he is shown wearing black shoes. In the next scene, when he kicks the other guy for rambling, his shoes are gone. SpongeBob ends up using the news broadcast to convince the townsfolk to help destroy the highway. At the end, when they are all singing the jellyfish song, you'll notice a few mistakes in the crowd. When SpongeBob rises into the camera, you'll see that right behind him is Larry the Lobster. Larry's pants are usually blue, as you can see here.
That's right, pal, but that's not all.
In this last scene, they are black and have no design on them. If we pause it here, just at the right time, we can see that Barnacle Boy, who is standing between Larry the Lobster and Squidward, is missing his left pupil.
SpongeBob, check out the new t-shirt I just made. Secret hiding.
Anyways, that's all the mistakes for today's video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to subscribe. Then click the video on screen now to watch our newest video. We'll see you there.